Hey everybody, it's me, Billy.
And this is Felicia.
Welcome to our Odd Pod podcast.
A podcast dedicated to the odd, the macabre, and everything in between.
And everything in between. What's up?
We just spent an hour troubleshooting our audio.
Oh my god, I was so fucking frustrated. And it was the simplest thing.
I don't know if you've listened to our previous episodes, every now and then you'll kind of hear like a zzz sound.
Yeah, usually we're able to edit it out because it was like not super vital stuff.
Well, it happened a lot during the Elena episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say that episode
when we got our new
equipment because somebody was moving the mouse to try to keep the screen from going to sleep.
Not naming any names.
Billy. But yeah, with our old setup, it didn't happen. But with the new, more sophisticated, I guess, because it has like a Bluetooth capabilities, maybe the wireless microphone was causing
the wireless
like a
mouse
audio drop. Yeah, I keep saying microphone.
Well, that's all we've been focusing on for the last 2 hours.
The audio mouse. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm just going to keep it.
He's losing it at this point.
The wireless mouse was causing audio issues with our new equipment.
But it only took us 7 episodes.
Yeah.
To figure it out.
And it was so frustrating. You know what? I should have saved all of the troubleshooting and we could have just uploaded it as like bonus content. But I didn't, so anyway. Don't get your hopes up. I do have an example of it though. Maybe I'll upload it somewhere.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't happen anymore. I think we figured it out. So hopefully from here on out, we'll have like clean, crisp audio. Hopefully.
If it happens now that the mouse is off and we figured it out, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. You're gonna have to commit me. I'm just gonna burn this fucking place to the ground.
I'll get a solo episode from Felicia about the rise and the fall of Billy Bones.
Yes, specifically the fall of Billy Bones.
You might hear Billy sipping some coffee because we needed it.
I burned myself. So hot.
I'm still riding the high from last episode.
It was a good episode.
I don't know if it's like a good episode, just kind of like the feeling in the world.
Yeah, we had fun that episode. Like the episode before, we were exhausted and tired and waiting for like results. The next episode, we were
high from those results.
We were riding the high from those results. And you know what? It's still looking pretty good.
And I'm riding the wave of like just watching the far right extremists just lose their goddamn minds.
Oh, man, it's a meltdown. Like, you know what? We've got like our right-leaning people that we love and like appreciate, right? But there is a line, bro. And I feel like on the other side of that line, there are some fucking meltdowns going on.
Oh, the pictures of people crying on the internet from those specific people are fueling me right now.
Yeah, we're not going to go into specifics. You can probably figure it out. We're not a political podcast, so we're not going to go into specifics, but just, have fun on Parler.
Anyway. The last episode I did was on the psychology of serial killers. And this week I wanted to do a serial killer. When I picked out my serial killer that I was going to do my said podcast on, I chose it based on the name alone. And for that I apologize. Because the name does not match how fun his criminal career is.
How fun it is?
Well, okay. I want to talk about today Pee Wee Gaskin.
Pee Wee Gaskin. Is Pee Wee his real name?
No.
Okay.
It is not his real name. But I saw Pee Wee Gaskin, serial killer. And I was like, that one. That's going to be a good one. Can't be that bad. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's
like, hey everybody, it's me, Pee Wee. I'm I'm a serial killer. That was a bad impression, but you know.
Once I started getting into it, I did kind of question on whether or not I wanted to do it because it's really just fucking like brutal.
Yeah.
Like, oof. But I decided to go along with it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a trigger warning just because it is that kind of bad and it does deal with serial killers, which does not bother me at all, but it might trigger somebody else, and I don't want that to like cause anybody harm.
It's like some fucked up shit he did, right?
Yeah. So trigger warning for like rape, child abuse, sodomy, and
Gomorrah.
Murder. I guess I don't know.
Just like a blanket trigger warning.
Blanket trigger warning.
Shit's about to get fucked up.
It's a lot. Just kind of hang in there. His childhood is kind of sad, but we're gonna remember he's an asshole. And he did a lot of like fucked up things, so we're not going to feel too sorry for him.
I mean, we can feel sorry for the child that he was.
Yes.
Maybe.
With
but
innocence lost.
He's not a... He's a fucking monster.
He turned into a monster.
Okay. You're a monster. Sorry.
To begin, the local newspapers called him the meanest man in South Carolina.
I think actually what they called him was the meanest man in South Carolina. Woo!
Other names that was really loud. Other names he is known by was the Redneck Charles Manson.
I love that.
The Hitchhiker's Killer.
Mm-hmm.
The Junior Parrot.
Junior Parrot?
Yes.
Okay.
And Pee-wee.
Did we find out why they call him Junior Parrot?
Well, that comes from his mom.
Oh, okay.
He is our first serial killer. And Donald Gaskins' early life is kind of sad.
What do you mean he's our first serial killer?
The first one we've talked about.
Really?
Yeah.
Talked about murderers, but I guess they weren't serial killers.
No, Armin Mivas was not a serial killer.
Is that the last?
He's the only murderer we've done.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And we were more focused on the cannibal part.
Well, I mean...
Which comes into play.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, crazy. This is our first serial killer. Wow.
Yeah.
And I think you picked a doozy.
I did pick a doozy, and you know what? For episode 10, let's do it.
Episode 10, you heard it, double digits.
So, Donald Gaskin was born on either March 9th or March 13th in 1933. I've seen both. I couldn't find like an actual source on that, so anyway. He's a Pisces for those who keep track of that kind of thing. Donald was born to a Yulia Parrot, which is where like Junior Parrot comes in.
Oh, his mom's last name is Parrot.
Yes. He was born in Florence County in South Carolina. Gaskin was the last in a string of illegitimate children, meaning like obviously his mom wasn't married. Not that I think that's an issue, but it's also like 1933, so probably not as celebrated, or it's probably more frowned upon.
So what you're saying is his mom was a hoe. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to shame promiscuous people because you know what? We don't yuck yums. But
we're not yucking yums, but
I just mean like in the 1930s.
In the 1930s, I feel like she was probably more
a
like
woman of loose moral character.
I'm just gonna go more like down on her look.
Okay.
Anyway, so his early life was characterized by a great deal of neglect. When he was one, he was either given or gotten a hold of a bottle of kerosene.
Oh.
This caused him to have convulsions until he was like around 3.
Oh wait, he drank it?
He drank a bottle of kerosene.
Oh boy. Oh dear. He would know.
So we're starting off not great.
Yeah. His
mom would bring home boyfriends, which would turn into stepfathers that would neglect and abuse him.
Ooh, I take back my laugh.
So Donald was small for his age. Don't know if that was from the kerosene or what.
Probably didn't help.
Did not help. So Donald was small for his age, and that's where he gained the name Pee-wee. And that nickname followed him well into adulthood because when he was fully grown, like into his adult age.
Yeah, I saw the picture. He looked like he was like 5'4".
He was 5'4" to 5'5".
Really?
Yeah, and he only weighed 130 pounds.
I need to work for that carnival.
He worked for the carnival.
Did he?
We're gonna get to it.
Damn, son. Okay.
In school, he would get into fights daily with other kids, and he didn't go for school for very long.
Well, probably, I guess not, because he couldn't fucking stop fighting people.
So at the age of 11, Gaskin quit school and began working on cars at a local garage. While working there, he met 2 boys. One was named Danny, the other one was named Marsh.
Sound like troublemakers.
Oh, they were trouble.
Here come Danny and Marsh.
So they were all around the same age, and they were all out of school at the ripe old age of 11.
You know?
They teamed up and called themselves the Troubled Trio.
The Troubled Trio. They came up with that name themselves?
I'm sure.
And what year was this?
So he is 11,
decade?
probably like 1944 now.
Okay.
1945.
All right. So they're like a little gang, and they gave themselves a name.
The Troubled Trio.
The Troubled Trio.
So this small gang of tiny children burglarized homes, picked up prostitutes, and threatened to beat up smaller children after assaulting them sexually so they wouldn't go to the police.
Okay, and they're 11.
Yeah, they're 11.
They're all three 11.
They're all 11.
And they're picking up prostitutes and molesting people.
Yes.
Jesus. Goodness gracious.
And I worded that nicely, not to tell you what they were actually doing.
Well,
if you just want to put 1 and 1 together and equal 2, you can just figure that one out.
I feel like I'm going to do that quite a bit, just in the interest of not,
Yeah, I didn't want to, put in too much graphic detail, just because, it doesn't bother me, but I really don't want to bother somebody else accidentally. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's a certain amount of, you kind of know what you're getting into, but I see what you're saying. Though,
I don't want to, cross that line.
And, sometimes people don't realize they have a line to
until
be crossed
we get there.
Until they get there.
And I don't want to do that for some people.
Right.
So, should you want to learn more, I'm going to let you do it on your own.
His name's Wee Gaskin. Just look him up.
The tiny group of heathens eventually broke up after they were caught for gang raping Marsh's little sister.
Okay.
They are 11.
So all this shit happened in a year?
I mean, not necessarily, but
okay.
The tiny trio, the Troubled Trio.
The tiny Troubled Trio.
The tiny Troubled Trio of tiny children.
They were small.
They're 11. Once Marsh's parents found out about the rape, the parents rightfully beat the boys until they were a bloody pulp.
Yeah, I can't imagine they were super stoked on
Probably
that.
not super stoked. And normally I wouldn't approve of violence against children, but for this one very specific instance, I'm going to allow it.
Yeah, there was definitely some shit going on behind the scenes for a bunch of 11-year-olds to act like this, but probably...
I'm just going to go with the little sister who was younger than 11.
I think the ass-kicking was merited.
Probably did not deserve that.
No, I don't think so.
We're going to let that one slide.
Yeah, I'm going to...
So, without his besties, Gaskin continued to burglarize homes alone. I don't know if I mentioned his real name. His real name's Donald, and he spent much of his childhood and teenage years in court for a host of crimes that he committed, as well as sexual assaults and burglaries. This part is so sad. He didn't know what his name was until it was being read to him in court.
He didn't know his name was Donald?
Yeah.
Wow. Can I just say Donald Gaskin is the name of a fucking creep.
Not a great name.
I don't, if anyone is specifically named that's listening, I don't think they will be. I'm sorry, but that name just it just sort of oozes, right?
Yeah, Donald Gaskin.
Donald Gaskin.
Carol Baskin.
No relation.
It's that fucking Donald Gaskin.
It's that fucking Donald Gaskin.
Anyway.
So
he didn't learn what his name was until his first court appearance. That was for a crime spree Gaskin had committed along with a group of other fellow delinquents, which included more robberies, more assaults, more gang rape. Pee-wee was 13.
Jesus.
Pee-wee was caught when good old Pee-wee was loading up items during a break-in in a nearby town of Florence when a girl from his school came home and caught him.
Oh.
She picked up a random axe and attempted to chase him off. Pee-wee was able to take the axe from her, and he ended up attacking her. He nearly killed her. She was lucky to have survived. So for that, Pee-wee was sentenced to a South Carolina's industrial school for boys in Florence until he was 18, which was the maximum sentence for a juvenile could get at the time.
And I can't imagine that was a great place.
Not a great place.
Probably not a good place to
We're
grow
about
up.
to get into it.
Okay.
Not awesome. Unfortunately for Pee-wee, while in reform school, obviously, things did not go well. Because of his small stature, he was regularly abused by his fellow inmates in ways that I will not get into because it made me sad. So Pee-wee, not wanting to just take it, he decided to establish himself.
Okay.
Pee-wee attacked a larger boy at the school with a hammer. He took the hammer and beat this boy's knee and then bit off a piece of his ear.
Well, I mean, like, if you're gonna go, you might as well go ham.
I feel like ear would be closer to, like, bacon.
Yeah, but, go ham. Hard as a motherfucker. You never heard that?
Mm-mm.
You heard me say go ham before, right?
Yeah.
You didn't realize that's what it meant?
No.
You're like, wow, he talks about ham a lot.
Talks about ham for a lot for somebody who don't eat ham.
For somebody that don't eat ham, he sure do talk about ham a lot. Ham a lot.
Title of this episode.
Yes, ham a lot.
Anyway, so Pee-wee was able to escape the school 4 times. Once at the age of 15, where he joined a traveling circus and he joined it as like a mechanic. He then married the 13-year-old teenage daughter of a carnival worker. When Pee-wee told his new family that he had escaped from the reform school, they all agreed that, like, once they returned to South Carolina, Pee-wee would go finish out his sentence, and then he was supposed to, like, meet up with them later. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
This seems weird from what I thought I knew about,
Carnies?
Carnies.
Well...
Not in, like, a negative way, but, like, traveling, like... circus people sticking together, right?
Yeah, but he kind of like joined in, and they're like, you're technically a convict right now.
So maybe it's bad for all of us.
Yeah. Maybe you should like go finish it, and then we'll meet up later. Because like he had married this carnival's daughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, he turned himself in. Pee-wee got out on his 18th birthday in 1951, but the girl that he had married when he was 15 had moved on, like divorced him without telling him, and she had moved on to a new man.
Ooh.
So he's a little upset.
Yeah.
Pee-wee wasn't able to remain out of trouble for a few years. He briefly worked on a tobacco plantation where he got involved in insurance fraud.
As you do.
As one does.
Yeah.
He would partner with other local tobacco farmers and burn down their fields for a fee.
Okay.
It's like insurance fraud.
Yeah. I get it. They were burning down their own fields and collecting the insurance
yeah.
money. Okay.
So then they would get the insurance money. He did this until 1953, and then he got arrested for attacking a teenage girl with a hammer after she fractured his fragile ego by allegedly insulting him. He split her head open, and I'm pretty sure she lived because he only got 6 years imprisonment at the South Carolina penitentiary. She called him a barn
also
burner.
1951, and it was a crime against the lady. So
I mean, true, but the name that she called him was a barn burner.
Okay.
And I tried to look up what that meant, but the only thing I could find was that it was people who would burn down their farms because they had a rat infestation.
I think of a barn burner as like a party.
That's what also came up.
Yeah.
So that's
or like a really intense wrestling match, because good old JR,
I don't know. I tried to figure out what it meant in like the 1950s, but I couldn't find anything.
Well, if we'll have to ask some
So if anybody from 1953 is listening, if you could just send me an email, ask somebody around you to help.
Yeah. Or if you have a direct line to any centenarians, isn't that what they're called?
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask them.
Or if you're dead, you can just write it on the bathroom mirror. That's okay.
Yeah, Grammy and Pop Pop. What the fuck, the barn burner? Why is that an insult?
Anyway, while he was in prison, he faced the same issue that he had at reform school. His small size prevented him from being intimidating, so people didn't respect him. So he sought to earn his fellow prisoners' respect by killing the most feared man in the prison. His name was Hazel Brazil.
Hazel Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil.
Probably Brazil.
It doesn't matter.
Good old Hazel. Sounds intimidating.
I looked up what he did, and I don't remember at all.
So did he kill Hazel?
He did kill Hazel.
How?
He slit his throat.
While he was sleeping?
No, Gaskin actually manipulated himself into a relationship. Not like a sexual relationship, but just like a relationship of trust, like a friendship. And then cut his throat. He was found guilty of manslaughter and then spent 6 months in solitary confinement. And he also earned an extra 3 years in prison. And I was listening to Linkin Park when I wrote this. But in the end, it didn't even matter.
Were you actually listening to
I was.
That's funny.
But in the end, it didn't even matter because he had an easier time in prison because of it.
I think also there was a time before where, like now, if you're in prison and you murder someone, you can get charged with murder, right?
Yeah, that happens later.
But before, the sentence was extended a little bit, but I don't think they would add charges.
Yeah, he only got 3 extra years because of it.
See, that's weird, right?
It doesn't seem like that serious, does it?
And it was only manslaughter?
Mm-hmm.
He probably, like, manipulated out, like, a self-defense kind of thing or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It didn't quite go into, like, details on, like, the charges, whatever.
I could be wrong about the sentencing thing, but anyway.
That sounds right, though.
I just hear my chair creaking. I'm sorry.
We fixed the... Can't fix the chair. That comes next.
I mean, like, we have our volume now pretty... I think it's figured out. We'll see what it sounds like when I listen back.
You may or may not be hearing this. Anyway, he escaped prison in 1955 by hiding in the back of a garbage truck and fled to Florida.
Hey, man.
Good old Florida.
That's a good place to go. I'm just saying, you can get away with a lot of stuff just by saying you're from Florida.
Just going to Florida. It's like, oh, yeah, we get it.
Sorry, I'm from Florida. I'm like, oh, well.
Yeah, we understand. Do you need help? This is a safe place.
Right.
So he joined another carnival as a mechanic. And while he was on the run, he got involved with a woman named Betty Gates. The two went up to Tennessee to bail out her brother. But when they got back to the hotel they were staying at, the man that they had bailed out of jail was actually Betty's husband and had also recently escaped from prison.
Oh, shit. Damn, plot twist.
Betty sure knows how to pick 'em.
Yeah. So how did Pee-wee react to this news?
Apparently there was some kind of scuffle that had occurred and the police eventually arrived at the hotel. It did not take them long to realize that he was an escaped convict, and then he was sent back to prison with an extra 9 months for aiding in the escape of the other prisoner, Betty's husband, where he was eventually paroled in 1961.
Oh, so wait. Pee-wee had escaped from prison at this point?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Pee-wee had escaped from
right
prison
over that.
in 1955.
Uh-huh.
He met up with Betty. Betty went to go bail out her brother.
Got it.
And was actually...
really just picking him up, and he had escaped from jail.
Right.
And then there was a kerfuffle.
And then they both got sent back to prison.
Okay, well, good job, Betty. You went from 1 to 2 to none, so well done.
And then Pee-wee ended up with like 9 extra months for escaping and aiding.
Right. It's nothing,
just 9
right?
extra months.
Yeah.
He was paroled in 1961. So, in August of 1961 of the same year, he returned to South Carolina.
And he raised up.
And he turned into a God-fearing Christian, and that's the end of my story.
Full of shit.
He was actually unable to stay out of trouble and began to burglarize homes again. He would avoid arrest by working with a traveling minister.
Okay.
He worked as the driver and like his general assistant. This was an easy way for Gaskin to like be hard to trace because he would just go from town to town burglarizing homes. So it made it more difficult to like realize that there was like a pattern going on.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And he's traveling with a minister.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to me.
It's a good way to get by, you know? Get away with it.
In 1962, Gaskin is currently at the ripe old age of 29. He is arrested for the statutory rape of a 12-year-old girl.
Jesus.
But he did escape to North Carolina in a stolen car. Once in North Carolina, he met a 17-year-old girl, got married, and then...
likes him young, huh?
Half his age. And then where she turned him in to the police for another case of statutory rape and received another 6 years in the Columbia Penitentiary.
I would like to point out he got more time for statutory rape than he got for almost killing someone with an axe.
He got the same time.
And slitting someone's throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was paroled in November of 1968 and vowed to never return again.
We'll see. He keeps getting jobs as a mechanic.
It's not even bad yet.
At what point did he become a mechanic? Is it where he worked when he was 11, where he met the 2 other boys?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were like mechanic apprentice.
Right, so like he learned how to like work on things as a young child.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sure you just pick it up along the way.
Okay. It was probably easier, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, cars weren't that fancy back then.
Yeah, like more open.
Mm-hmm.
Probably taught him the gist of it, and he kind of built on it from there, right?
Just tinkering around.
Like OJT.
As if Gaskin's life wasn't already plagued with violence and destruction, it was about to get a whole lot worse.
Oh boy.
So throughout his whole life, Gaskin described feelings that forced him into criminal activity.
Activity?
Words are hard for me, you guys know this. Gaskins referred to them as aggravated and bothersome feelings.
These are his violent tendencies?
Yes.
Okay.
In September of 1969, he finally found some relief from these feelings when Gaskin picked up a female hitchhiker in North Carolina. And once again, his fragile ego was bruised when she laughed at his sexual proposition.
Okay.
So he was like angry. Like hella angry.
He must see. I bet he has a micro penis. No shame. I'm just. Excuse me. He can't help it, but you know what?
I mean, same.
I'm just saying. He's compensating for something, right? Maybe it's just like a lifetime of being like a little wormy fuck.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
So Gaskin decided to beat her until she was unconscious. He did things to her body that I'm also not going to repeat here.
Okay.
Raped and tortured her and drove her to a swamp, tied weights on her body, and then threw her in the water so she would drown.
Oh, so she was alive when he threw her in.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
And at the end of that sentence, I said, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah. This is like an Eminem song.
More like an ICP song.
Well, you know what? In the early days, there was
A little crossover
a little
action.
bit of similarities, you know. We're not going to get into the evolution of Detroit-based rappers in this podcast, but, you know, continue.
His process, or read MO from my last episode, rape, torture, murder, was like his vision into like the bothersome feelings that he experienced throughout his life.
Okay.
So soon these feelings, they would become very satisfying for Mr. Pee Wee Gaskin, and he described it as like his driving force in life.
Uh-huh.
He mastered the skill of torture. Yay!
Yay. Wait, but, like, who rewards you the master of torture? Like, who decides? How do you know? Did he just decide he mastered the...
He got a certificate.
In the mail?
In the mail.
The Universal Life Church. Yeah. Sorry.
Alright, so he mastered the skill of torture. He would keep his injured victims alive for days, and eventually he would cannibalize their severed body parts and either make them watch him eat it, or he would make them join in eating it.
Oh, dude, that's hardcore.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, now I'm even more interested in what's going on.
And again,
He made people eat themselves?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then with that sentence I put, again, fuck this guy.
Dude, that's, like, it's already been really fucked up, right? Okay, rape, torture, murder are all really fucked up things.
Yeah.
But forcing someone to auto-cannibalize is really fucked up.
It's just, like, fucked up.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
So, in 1973, Gaskins purchased an old hearse, telling people at his favorite bar that he needed the vehicle to haul all the people he killed to his private cemetery.
So he's just telling people.
And they thought it was funny.
All right.
They thought he was joking.
Oh, Pee-wee.
At the time, he was living in Prospect, South Carolina. He had a wife and child.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
They didn't say exactly who he married.
The names have been withheld to protect the innocent.
There is a documentary on YouTube that I started watching, but it was very, very boring. Then I didn't finish it, with like his daughter on it. But it's kind of like a sad story, though.
It's kind of fucked up.
It's fucked
Just
up.
like all over the place, fucked up.
Yeah, like it never gets better.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Gaskin preferred female victims, probably because they were easier to control, but that didn't stop good old Pee Wee from doing the same thing to males that he would come by.
Okay.
By 1975, at the ripe old age of 42, he was now a grandfather.
Grandfather.
He had found 80 boys and girls along the highways of North Carolina and killed them.
So he was just picking up hitchhikers and killing them.
Yeah, that's where he gets like the hitchhiker killer.
Okay, so is this the guy that like the idea of like picking up hitchhikers and murdering them came from?
No idea.
I'm just curious because there's...
Hitchhiking used to be like a big thing back then.
Yeah.
And it was considered like relatively safe.
There's also the other side where someone would hitchhike and murder people. I feel like for some reason people are more concerned with that, being killed by a hitchhiker.
Yeah, people are more concerned about being like picking up a hitchhiker and being killed rather than being killed by someone who picks up hitchhikers.
Right.
He considered these highway murders as like weekend recreations, and he did not find them to be very serious. So he considered picking up somebody on the side of the road on the weekend, like a hitchhiker, the same way as like most people think about football.
Or like go and play skee ball at the
Going
arcade.
golfing on the weekend.
Yeah.
Playing your fantasy football league on the weekend. On Sundays, I like to go to the grocery store and pick up fancy cheese. Donald Gaskins like to pick up hitchhikers and kill them.
Oh yeah, today was Sunday and we picked up fancy cheese.
Delicious cheese.
So it's like, oh yeah, I
What'd you do this weekend? I went to the grocery store and I picked up fancy cheese. What did you do, Donald?
I picked up a hitchhiker and killed him and ate their flesh.
Nice.
However,
That's good. That was a good one.
spur of the moment there. Anyway, back to the sad part. However, when he would kill somebody personal, like a personal acquaintance, he did consider them to be serious murders. And some of the serious murders included his 15-year-old niece, Janice Kirby, and her friend Patricia Alsobrook. Gaskin lured the two girls in by offering them a ride home from a bar. Why were the 15-year-olds at a bar? And instead drove them to an abandoned house where he also raped, beat, and drowned them.
That's fucked up. What?
I laugh so I don't cry. The next serious murder was of Martha Dix, who was age 20. People said that she was like kind of into Gaskins.
Diggs or Dix?
Dix.
Okay.
She would hang around his part-time job at the car repair shop. She was also his first African-American victim.
Uh-oh, okay.
He killed her with acid that he had stolen from a photographer after hearing him warn people, don't ever handle this stuff up here, it'll kill you if he did. He poured a strong dose of the acid into a Coca-Cola, gave it to her, and when she tried to scream, she had like just fallen on the floor by the end of that.
Okay, so he poured the acid into a Coke?
Gave it to her to drink.
And it didn't like eat through the container?
Well,
or
it was probably a glass bottle.
It didn't like bubble up or anything?
It was a glass Coca-Cola bottle, probably. She drank it.
What the fuck kind of
She
acid
tried to
was this?
scream. Well, like, it said photographer acid, probably something he used to like to develop film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never like professionally developed film, but
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up.
and
I mean, obviously not to murder people, but
I mean,
I'm very curious.
yeah. So he said the next thing that he knew, like she was on the floor, dead.
Yeah, because you gave her fucking acid, Donald. Jesus.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Next thing I know, she was just on the floor dead.
I gave her acid. I don't know what happened.
It's like she drank some kind of acid or something.
I tasted it the other day. It was fine.
Yeah.
Although Gaskin had a reputation for being explosive, some people in town just thought he was like mentally disturbed. I mean, duh.
Yeah, I mean, like, just a little
Just
bit.
a little disturbed.
Yeah, a little disturbed.
Most people tried to avoid him, although a few people who actually did like him and considered him as their friend. But they were not spared of his favorite pastime.
No. Clearly not.
Nobody is
gave
safe.
One of them Coke acid.
Coke acid.
Coke acid.
Coke acid.
Yeah.
The old recipe for Coke.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of these people that considered Gaskin to be their friend was Doran Dempsey. She was the mother of a 2-year-old baby girl and was pregnant with her second child at the time of her death. She was trying to leave town and decided to catch a ride to the bus station from Gerald Gaskin.
Donald Gaskin.
What did I say?
Daryl, you said.
Daryl. She considered him to be like an old friend, and she was like picking up a ride from him, and he ended up taking her to the wooded area where he raped and killed her, and then did the same thing to her baby.
Oh, man, like the one that was born already, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And then buried the two together. Fuck this guy.
Yeah, fucking hell. Jesus. There's some heavy shit going on in this episode. Fuck.
I feel so bad. I shouldn't have picked this one.
Woo! I mean, like, you thought that consensual cannibal was bad.
I did not think.
Yeah, you know what? Like, this is like the opposite of that episode because Armin was like very concerned about consent.
Armin was
not
super
so much.
into consent. This guy is just a fucking monster. Well, it does have a happy ending, so.
It has a happy ending?
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
So, Gaskin has been killing on the regular for about 6 years.
Mm-hmm. On the reg.
On the reg. This whole time, he had worked alone, which definitely helped.
That do help.
Being avoided and being caught. However, Donald starts to get sloppy, thankfully.
Ooh, we talked about this in your last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they get worse. Some of them get worse because they get cocky.
Yeah, so he starts to get sloppy, thankfully. So
they stopped calling him Pee-wee and started calling him Sloppy Donnie.
Sloppy Donnie. Pee-wee fucking Gaskin.
Pee-wee fucking Gaskin.
Murdered 3 people when their van broke down on the side of the road near where he lived. And now he has a van that he needs to get rid of. Like, he didn't pick up a hitchhiker. So he calls up an old acquaintance, an ex-con man, named Walker Neely, to drive the victim's van to his garage so he could repaint it and sell it. And this next part gets a little bit confusing, but hang in there.
Okay.
I've kind of got it figured out, so if you have any questions, stop me and let me know.
All right.
Okay.
Hold on. Wait.
Focus. You there?
I'm focused.
All right, everybody listen.
All right, everybody.
In that
same speaker.
In that same year, Gaskin was hired as a hitman to a woman named Suzanne Kipper. She paid him $1,500 to kill her ex-boyfriend named Silas Yates.
Silas Yates?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 men named John Powell and John Owens handled the communication between Gaskin and Kipper concerning the arrangements of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, there's already too many people involved.
Yes.
Right.
One too many Johns.
There's like that, too many people.
Yeah.
So, on February 12th, 1975, Diane Neely, who was the conman's ex-wife from that van earlier, lured Silas Yates out of his house by claiming to have cart trouble.
Okay, hold on. So I do have a question.
Okay.
So he's hired by a person to kill another person,
Mm-hmm.
but he's hired through a proxy that are these 2 people named John Powell and John whatever.
Owens, yes.
Okay, so they got those 2 guys to hire him,
Mm-hmm.
and then the person he's supposed to kill, the guy who helped him get rid of the van's wife, is helping lure him out so he can kill him.
So I think what had happened was Gaskin convinced Diane to help by, like, go tell him you're having car trouble and that you need help.
Okay.
Like, she's gonna lure Yates out the door.
Right. There's way too many people involved.
Way too many people. Gaskin then kidnaps and murder Yates while Powell and Owen watched. Alright, way too many people involved. You got 3 people there.
And they watched. Okay.
And then they all helped bury the man.
All right.
And because you can't trust an ex-con man's wife, Diane and her new boyfriend decided to blackmail Gaskins.
I cannot imagine that ended well for them.
It did not. They asked for $5,000 in hush money, and Gaskin, doing what Gaskin does, agreed to pay it and then got rid of the 2.
Because Gaskin gonna do what Gaskin do.
Yeah, so he killed them and then buried them in his personal cemetery behind his house.
So he does actually have a personal cemetery.
He does actually have a personal cemetery.
Okay.
At around the same time, Gaskin had tortured and killed other people that he knew in his life. One girl named Kim Gelkin. She was a 13-year-old who had rejected him, like, sexually.
Right.
2 other locals attempted to rob Gaskin's repair shop without knowing what Gaskin... Like, they didn't really know what Gaskin was about.
Yeah.
And
oh, dear.
Yeah, that was not good. So Gaskin caught these 2 men, killed them, and then buried them in the same private cemetery.
Yeah.
In his house, behind his house.
Jeez Louise. What a shitty... Like, you just picked the wrong fucking place, man.
Not the one.
It's like the one where they try to rob the blind guy. What's that movie?
Oh. Good movie.
Now you're gonna see what I see.
Whatever that movie is.
Yeah, I can't remember.
There's just like the one line from the
I haven't even seen it. You showed me the
We should
trailer.
watch it.
Yeah.
It's just that one line. Now you're going to see what I see. He called Walter Neely to help bury the 2 bodies because Pee-wee is not the brightest crayon in the tool shed. He showed Walter Neely where he had buried the other locals, which included his ex-wife and her new boyfriend.
Wait, why did he show Neely?
Neely helped him bury the 2 people who attempted to rob him.
Oh, because he's like, yeah, you know what? Fuck those guys. They tried to rob you. And he's like, oh, look, there's also 60 other people back here. And he's like, oh, God.
I also have your ex-wife and her boyfriend back here. You want to see him?
Oh, dear. And Neely's like, uh-oh.
Neely was like, no, but okay. So, after the disappearance of Kim, authorities began to be suspicious of Gaskin.
Yeah.
They eventually searched his apartment and found clothing that had been worn by Kim.
Kim was the wife?
Kim was the little girl, the
The girl,
13-year-old.
the 13-year-old. Okay, that was my first guess, but...
And then Gaskin was indicted on contributing to the delinquency of a minor. You good?
Yeah.
You look confused.
My ears just did a thing. It's fine.
I thought you were surprised because I said delinquency correctly.
No. It's like no.
Neely cracked under pressure while he was waiting for the trial and showed the police Gaskin's private cemetery.
Oh, shit.
These hoes ain't loyal.
These hoes ain't loyal.
In the cemetery, they found the bodies of the following. A person named Sellers, Judy, Howard and Diane, which is the people who tried to blackmail him, Johnny Knight and Dennis Balmy, the two men who had attempted to rob him, Doreen Dempsey and her child and fetus. On April 27th, 1976, Gaskin and Walter were charged with 8 counts of murder. On May 24th of the same year, a jury convicted Gaskin of the murder of Dennis Balmy, and he was sentenced to death.
Okay.
In an attempt to avoid additional death sentences, he later confessed to 7 more murders.
Okay.
In November of 1976, the Supreme Court ruled that the death penalty was unconstitutional, and his death sentence was converted to life with 7 consecutive life sentences.
And what state was this in?
North Carolina.
Okay.
But in 1978, the death penalty was reinstated. But you can't just flip-flop on death sentences, so this didn't really matter to Donald. With that being said, Pee-wee was left unfazed until he was caught and found guilty for being paid to murder a fellow prisoner. The prisoner in question, his name is Rudolph Tyner. Rudolph Tyner had been on death row for murdering an elderly couple named Bill and Myrtle Moon. Bill and Myrtle Moon's son did not believe that Rudolph Tyner would ever make the death row. He would ever actually what do they call it? Completed death row? I don't know. They thought he would never be executed, is what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Myrtle Moon's son hired Gaskins to murder Rudolph Tyner.
Oh, so he's on death row. They're concerned that he's not going to get executed. He's just going to linger
on death row.
So they're like, hey, Gaskin.
We need you.
We need you to kill this guy.
Gaskin attempted to poison him a few times. That didn't work.
Is Gaskin? He's not on death row at this point.
Gaskin, no, not on death row yet.
Okay.
He had attempted to poison him. I think he had attempted at one point to slit his throat or something.
Yeah.
Just like he did with the other guy. That didn't work, obviously. Eventually, he succeeded in blowing up Tyner with a radio that he had rigged with explosives.
Dude, I saw this in a movie.
Did you really?
In a prison movie, yeah.
Wait, which prison movie?
I can't remember.
Sounds very familiar.
Pretty old,
doesn't it?
I think Sean Penn might be in it.
Yeah.
It's like an old movie. And at
Just
the
one
end,
of the
he
only
just
movies
beats
that
the
I've
shit
seen.
out of this guy that's been fucking with him the whole movie, and then the movie just ends.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, he was dubbed the meanest man in America, and they gave Gaskin his death sentence back.
Oh.
That's so nice.
That's so nice.
Gaskin?
Can we just, hold on. Can we just stop, though, and, can we focus for just a brief second on the fact that he blew this motherfucker up with a radio?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
In prison.
Yeah. All right. Maybe he was a mechanic. All right.
So, Gaskin began confessing for other murders to avoid getting the electric chair, because he did not want to go out via electric chair.
So, wait. If you have more murders, they're going to change the type of execution?
I think he was trying to, either get his... Either prolong it, or...
I'll tell you where the bodies are if you don't kill me.
Just take him back to, consecutive life sentences. He did not want to go out via, electric chair.
I mean, of course. Who would want to?
Who wants to? So he started confessing to murders, right?
Yeah.
If these confessions were true, he would be considered the worst killer in South Carolina's history ever.
Uh-huh.
He admitted to the murder of a Peggy Cutno, but prosecutors had already charged and sentenced a William Pierce to life in prison for that murder, so Gaskin's confession was rejected.
Okay, because that makes sense, right?
I guess there wasn't enough evidence to actually,
Maybe they had more evidence on the other guy?
Yeah.
Could have been just lazy, though.
I mean, that also.
I need more information on this guy.
I didn't look up that one very much. So, during his last month of his life, Gaskin worked on a book called Final Truth with author Wilton Earl. The book was published in 1993 and discussed murders and the bothersome feelings that Gaskin had felt throughout his life. On the day of his execution, Gaskin attempted to complete suicide in order to avoid the electric chair by cutting his own wrist.
Okay.
It did not work. Gaskin was stitched up and placed in an electric chair with stitches in his arm and pronounced dead by electrocution on September 6, 1991 at 1:10 a.m. at the age of 58.
Woof. Okay.
You want to know what his last words were?
Yes.
I'll let my lawyers talk for me. I'm ready to go.
Okay. I think I've read that on a list of like death row final words.
I tried to find out what his last meal was, but I could not find it.
Yeah? Man, I really want to know. Maybe it was nothing.
Maybe he just like, fuck that.
It's like, can I have people? No. Okay, well, I don't want anything then.
I'm good, thanks.
Kentucky Fried Children.
That's
so
terrible.
What would your last meal be if you...
Ooh, Alfredo.
Really?
Yeah.
Alfredo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I fucking love Alfredo. Thinking about Alfredo now.
Yeah.
Anyway, my mouth is like...
You want Alfredo
Yeah.
now, huh? That's funny.
What would your last meal be?
Man, I don't really know. Like, it would probably be like something ridiculous. Like, I would want a lobster and a bunch of fried chicken, but only the legs and the wings. And then probably some like, I don't know, good potato salad.
Potatoes.
Or maybe like some watermelon or like chocolate covered pretzels. Just a bunch of shit. I don't know, dude. For some reason, I'm thinking fried chicken though, especially if it was electric chair, because then it would just be ironic. Because I would eat fried chicken, and then I would
become fried chicken.
I would become fried chicken.
So the real total of murders that Gaskin committed is unknown, as the information was never provided by many. Like, they never found a lot of the bodies because, you know, the elements.
Yeah.
But one thing is known for certain is that Donald Pee Wee Gaskin was a psychopath and a sociopath who had no regards for human life.
That's true. Ooh, also, sorry, a pint
good.
of butter pecan ice cream.
I want cookies and cream ice cream.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to make
just
sure I got
figured out all the
everything
food
I
would
needed
eat.
for my final meal.
So I didn't know where to put some of this other information in the story, so I'm just gonna spit it out for you right now.
All right, let's hear it.
Gaskin was suspected of at least 39 murders, so they know that much.
39.
Right.
That's pretty high, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay.
Whenever they asked him if he was sorry about killing anybody, he said that he felt sorry for murdering his 15-year-old niece and her friend, and another girl named Jessie Judy.
Jessie Judy?
Yeah, I didn't find out a lot about her, but he was sorry.
Sorry, Jessie. I'm sorry. My bad.
My bad. I didn't mean to.
My bad. I didn't mean to.
So he said, in regards to like how he felt about killing his niece, he said, I reckon really deep down, when you get to the bottom of it, why you have a little feeling towards everybody regardless of what. Going down deep, you get to thinking about it. Why it still gets on your nerves and on your mind about it.
Sounds like some dumb bullshit that some fucking crazy person would say. As a person who occasionally does have to talk to some crazy people.
He said
they don't always be making sense.
I read a article that his lawyer had written and said that he, like, when you talk to him, he was polite and everything, but he didn't have any remorse for killing most people.
But that's kind of like par for the course with a lot of serial killers, right? They're like polite and charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people said, not like a lot of people, I actually did try looking up other podcasts, because when I searched, okay, this is how I got to find Pee Wee Gaskin. I typed in funny murder. There's no such thing about a funny murder, but I was trying to find like a lighthearted murder, which did not yield very many results. But then I saw this listicle, and it said like serial killers that you've never heard of, and it said Pee Wee Gaskins, and I was like,
you're right, I've never heard of him.
I have never heard of Pee Wee Gaskin.
Which is kind of a big thing for you.
It is. And I looked on Spotify, and I typed in Pee Wee Gaskin, and I found one podcast. It's like the last podcast and left did a...
Okay.
Yeah, they did a couple of
That's a
episodes
good
on him.
podcast.
I haven't listened to him, so I should check him out one day.
You absolutely should. I think they're probably up your alley.
Yeah. So.
And if I'm not mistaken, they kind of have like a similar blanket of oddities and macabreries that we do. Yeah.
I don't know. So I'll check them out after this because I didn't want to listen. And I don't know. I feel weird about it, but
No, I understand.
I was trying to see if any of the podcasts I had listened to had covered it, and I didn't see any that did. So that was interesting. And like, oh my god, every fucking thing was just fucking wild.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
Like
and
from start
we just
to finish.
scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I imagine.
There is so much more. I didn't know it. Like, I haven't even had a chance to read his book yet, and apparently he goes into the graphic details of 15 other murders.
Yeah, we definitely didn't want to go into graphic detail with this guy, probably, because it sounds like he did some fucked up shit.
I left out some things that I was like, I'm not saying that. I cannot. I'll tell you after we finish recording, but I could not bear to, like, risk this being on someone's speaker.
Yeah. It's like, hey, welcome to Taco Bell. Can I take your order? And then he fucking ate her butt. It's probably worse than that, but you know what I mean. He ate her butt on a sandwich. It was a butt meat sandwich.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm a grown up.
This is your 12-year-old sentence.
He ate her butt on a sandwich. It was a butt meat sandwich. Ooh.
I'm gonna pray for you.
It sounds a little bit like Gurr from Invader Zim, huh? Yes, please pray for me.
Yeah, so that's that. I hope I did my first serial killer justice.
Yeah, dude.
I promise the next one won't be that graphic or sad or...
Well, I'm sitting here like the whole time. I'm just watching you tear up the whole time you're talking. And you can't hear it in your voice, but like I see the moisture in your eyes.
You just like see how sad I get.
Yeah. I was like, oh boy, I was waiting for it. But you know what? You didn't...
I'm going to cry after this.
You did not burst into the tears I was expecting just from watching your face change slowly over the course of the podcast.
Just like see my spirit break just like a little bit
just
more.
Like, God, what is on that screen over there that I can't see? Shit.
You don't want to know.
So much.
It takes a lot for me to get like...
Yeah.
Like, affected. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, damn.
I told you, Pee Wee Gaskin. Sounds fun.
Not to be confused with Pee Wee Herman.
See, that's what I thought. It was going to be kind of funny like that. But it was not funny like that at all.
I love Pee Wee Herman. I'm not a big fan of Pee Wee Gaskin, just based on what I've learned today.
Oh, no. Not at all.
And I had never heard of him before either.
Right? So, that's where we're at now.
Well, that was good.
Thank you.
First serial killer on our Odd Pod podcast.
First of many.
And if you're listening to this, happy Oop Day.
Happy Oop Day.
Oop Day. We don't have that button, do we?
No.
It's not. There's no air horn.
Pee Wee Gaskin.
Pee Wee Gaskin.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope you
you're
guys
not
enjoyed
sad.
it. Anyway, thanks for listening again.
Check out our website. We have a banner.
Yeah, if you go to our website at www.ouroddpodpodcast.com, click on the sidebar. We got links to our Spotify. We got links to Stitcher, Instagram, personal Instagrams, Facebook, and DarrenCurtisMusic.com.
And Darren emailed us back.
Yeah, so the last time I made a little joke about how Darren hadn't emailed me back. I sent him an email. Turns out he had emailed me back. I had completely missed it. Again, I was just joking, but still, it was nice. He emailed us back. It's a very nice guy. You should check out his website. He makes awesome music.
And he's very nice.
And the website, DarrenCurtisMusic.com, is like music to use if you're a creator. You can donate to him, but even if you don't, he creates like royalty free or what's it called? Anyway, he creates
like
music for
you're looking
creators.
at me like for an answer, and I'm just like.
He creates music for creators to use in their projects. Check him out. Show him some love.
I hope you get to cozy up with your favorite drink today. I hope you tip your baristas. I hope you're nice to your emergency personnel.
I hope you can hear what Felicia is saying.
I know. We are the Boneses.
We are the Boneses, and we are out.